Now, a closer look at the news and issues affecting you. The Midday News with Herb Weisbaum on KOMO News 1000, FM 97.7.
Sure hope you're getting to enjoy this lovely weather we're having, and thank you so much for spending part of your Friday with us here on KOMO. Herb Weisbaum here with the Midday News, weekdays from 1 to 3 o'clock. So imagine this. You go to a website, you click on a story, or what you think is a news story. You could actually be reading a pseudo-news story, one that looks like it was written by a journalist but was really provided to the site by an advertiser. The Online Trust Alliance, based in Bellevue, just published a report on this that found a great deal of confusion is taking place in the marketplace. Let's find out more from Craig Spiesel. He's executive director of the Online Trust Alliance.
Yeah, this is an increasing trend as publishers and websites are increasingly looking at new sources of revenue and have introduced what's called native advertising, which is really by design blended to look somewhat homogenous with the website and the website content.
Now, I've seen a bunch of websites now, big national news sites that have a little thing that says sponsored content or something like that. That's okay to you as long as they're telling somebody what this is?
Well, it depends upon the term. We did an audit of the 100 top websites, and we found of the sites they're using 63 different terms. And that's very troubling. It almost means a consumer has to have a decoder ring to understand what it means. So, for example, featured stories, recommended stories, sponsored stories. What does that really mean? And so one of the call to actions is where the industry needs to come to a set of terms that are intuitive to the typical user.
Yeah, because featured story or recommended story doesn't at all imply that it's an advertiser story.
That's our concern. And we think that in the right context, native advertising, as it's called, can really be very positive for the publisher and the consumer as well. But again, the terminology that discloses the ad needs to be clear. How it's presented, in other words, is it small font or is it gray font against a white background? So again, it has to be discoverable. And then we also believe the ad unit itself needs to be delineated from the rest of the content. So shading, a border, a rule. So to really make it easier, as someone is very quickly scrolling the site can discern between native content and editorial from the publisher.
And as you're well aware, with news budgets being cut back dramatically and these folks having to fill the sites with information, this is the easy and cheap way to go.
It certainly is. It also provides the ability to bring in a wider range of topics. So again, in the right context, native can be very win-win for the consumer and the publisher. But again, with the lack of oversight and the lack of best practices, we fear the consumer trust is going to decline, as well as call for regulatory oversight of fair disclosures of advertising.
The report just came out a few days ago. Have you had time to have any feedback from the industry about the idea of coming up with a couple of standardized terms and ways of displaying this stuff?
Yeah, in general, everyone says, yes, we need to do it, but the willingness to go that next step. And so in the development of our research, we actually reached out to the FTC. We spoke to some state attorney generals. We also reached out to the trade groups representing advertisers and publishers. And the great news is the FTC has a lot of concern and would like to see self-regulation prevail. And also the publishers, they're very concerned about the ad experience because ultimately it comes down, can you trust the brand of the site? So we're seeing great growth there. The advertisers and some of the ad networks are a little slower right now, but we're encouraged by recent developments to embrace some of the best practices.
Well, as KOMO's consumer man, I'm concerned about this because I think people are very confused. I commend you for this, and if people want to read more about it, they can go to your website, otalliance.org. Craig Spiesel is the executive director. They're located in Bellevue, by the way. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for your interest.